Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. Always excited to bring the news to you, but folks, we have troubling news out of Seattle. That's right, somebody even worse than Mondami. I'm going to go to Fox News here, and I'm going to pull from their site and just show you just how bad this candidate
Seattle's
is.
mayoral race still hanging in the balance, but socialist Katie Wilson has just pulled ahead of incumbent Bruce Harrell. Ari Hoffman's a radio host for KVI in Seattle and joins me now. And Ari, in honor of Kamala Harris, we're going to pop up a Venn diagram to compare Wilson and Mamdani. Both support sanctuary city policies, progressive taxes, and city-owned grocery stores with...
Look at this. She's even worse. Look at this diagram. Pause it for a second. Universal care.
being bookended by socialism.
Well, it looks like in Seattle, we're definitely going back to that, something we moved away from. But it's not so much because Katie Wilson is so successful. It's because her predecessor, or who is about to be her predecessor, was an absolute failure. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell was elected on a more moderate slate of candidates after the riots of 2020 and the deadly autonomous zone. And he promised a return to normal, a return to public safety, but he didn't do that at all. This is a guy who liked the idea of being mayor, but not actually doing the job of being mayor. And he ran a campaign as lazy as his time in office. By the time he was running for re-election, nobody wanted him. It was a lot like Cuomo if you're looking for more things to be Venn diagrams for that race. And it's not a good thing. When people show up to vote against the other candidate, not so much for you. There was no excitement for him. So what happens is you have Katie Wilson, who, going back to your Venn...
That's a great point, but you also need to understand that this guy here, okay, he lost, quote, lost after 1 week of counting votes.
Diagram comparison is a 43-year-old woman who's still living off her parents because she's never had a real job. She dropped out of Oxford with 6 weeks to go before graduation. Her husband refuses to work, not can't work, refuses to work. And then she asked Seattle to pay the bills for her. Now it looks like she's going to be in charge of one of the greatest cities in the country because so many socialists showed up to vote for her and nobody wanted to vote for the moderate because he did such a terrible job.
Okay, so broadening this out to...
So again, remember, this is not, and I'm going to make this point. Just stick with me as after we play this Fox video, because I'm going to make some very big points. Everybody's going to say, oh gosh, this means that the Democrat socialists are going to win in perpetuity, huge wins across the country. No, not even true. I'll show you.
The takeaway for the entire nation. Left-wing media, is sure to say this likely win by Wilson is a referendum against Donald Trump. Your response?
Seattle hasn't voted for Donald Trump in any of the elections he's run for. It hasn't even been close. So, no, they will choose the socialists. And let's not forget, we had socialists in office here for years. We are still...
This Ari Hoffman is making a great point, folks. To say this is a referendum against Trump when they never have voted for Trump, they haven't elected a conservative as the mayor of Seattle in God knows how long. And then they're going to say this is a referendum against Trump. This is where you have to really watch these political analysts and not take everything they say to heart. He's making a great point.
Living under their policies. One of the things Bruce Harrell didn't do was roll back any of those policies. We've still been in a socialist hellhole since 2018, 2019, 2020. Nothing has changed. And he only made things worse. More taxes, more crime. And people can paint whatever narrative they want nationally, but if you dig into these races and you see why people are unhappy, you look at Minneapolis for a second. You look at Omar Fatah, who ran for office, and people didn't vote for him because there was infighting in the Somalian tribes. It's not a social...
It wasn't only that, folks, but Minneapolis has been devastated by the riots and the lack of a police force. Omar Fatah, as bad as Mayor Small Fry is, Jacob Fry, he's still better than Fatah in terms of supporting the police. He's the most pro-police candidate they were running. That's how bad Minneapolis is.
Socialist wave that's taking over. It's that Democrat Socialists of America know how to target these races where you have an unpopular incumbent or somebody unpopular who's running in these off-year elections, and that's what they go for, and that's what they're very successful at.
This is a very important point because this is exactly what George Soros always does. He understands arbitrage. He understands how to make smaller investments to get greater return. Presidential races do not give him the same return on his dollar. Say what you want about him. He's evil, but he's smart.
problem is you're going to see more of these mini Mamdanis running across the country because the Democrats think they have found the silver bullet to defeating Republicans.
Also, we don't have time for this question, but it's taken a really long time. I mean, Democrats got their mandate a week and a half ago. We won all these races. And they lost their mandate by the weekend. You guys are still counting votes there in Seattle.
Still counting votes.
Ari Hoffman, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Let's get going, Seattle.
Still counting votes in Seattle, which is another part of the problem. So I want to go down here into the article and dive just a little bit deeper. And I also want to show you, these are some of the people. This is the Working Families Party that she's a part of, or the people that they're supporting, our candidates. And you can go on down here and you can look, they've got a whole slate of candidates, folks. They're not winning races all over the place, but they get a lot of media running around because I suppose it's a popular narrative, and they're able to say, oh my gosh, you need to be concerned. All these socialists are winning. And I am concerned that socialists are winning. I mean, this lady is a straight up communist. Okay. But she doesn't even work. She lives off her parents. Her husband refuses to work. And I will guarantee you that you cannot be the chief executive of a major city and have that turn out well when you haven't worked your whole life. It's not going to turn out well for Seattle. It's not going to turn out well for the Democrat Party because these are the policies. It's actually a big win, a big boon for conservatives when you really think about it, on just how much ground they're able to gain as a result of this. But it gets even better. But I do want to mention my sponsor. That's MyPillow, mypillow.com/lumberjack for big savings on the best sleep products available. Folks, the My Towels are in. This is the Made in America sale. All of these first top 10 products, 11, 12 products are all made in America, and save 50% or more and get free shipping on your entire order. Call 1-800-568-2865. But I want you to think about this. They're going to tell you that, oh my gosh, socialists are winning everywhere. They're not. Okay. Yes, they won these two large mayoral races, folks. But on a whole, the Democrat Party is trying to run from that stuff. But they're doing this in off-year elections. Now, the sad reality is the most motivating thing the Republicans have right now is Donald Trump, and the party seems to work against him many times. But Bruce Harrell was just a bad mayor. He said he was going to solve the problems that he was absolutely unwilling to address. And you've seen this coming out of Seattle in the last few years. You watch the police videos out of Seattle, you see just how bad it is. And here you got the Transit Riders Union nonprofit activist Katie Wilson wins the mayoral race. Okay, like Mamdani, Wilson has faced criticism for past support of defunding the police, most notably through her support of a solidarity budget, which would have cut the Seattle police force by 50%. I will guarantee you that's not going to turn out well. It's going to be shown on the national stage, and it's not going to go well for Democrats. Okay, she said that there's a strong argument for simply disbanding police departments and starting over. She wrote that in a June 2020 op-ed. Okay, she talked about Trump proofing, and that's what the media is going to focus on. We're Trump proofing the city of Seattle. It's a referendum against Donald Trump. Again, remember, Seattle is not a city that has ever voted for Donald Trump. And I want you to remember, too, it's at 1 week after of counting votes. Seattle, because it's part of, Washington State, it's all mail-in ballots, folks. It's all mail-in ballots. The easiest way to fraud an election is to have mail-in ballots. We need to go back to same day, paper ballots, in-person voting, hand counted. It's the only way we can overcome this fraud, because I've been an election judge and you have people there from both sides. You have Republican and Democrat counters so we can hold each other accountable. She's all about taxing the rich, which is going to further exacerbate the problem Seattle has, where the rich are going to leave just like the rich are leaving New York. And the problem is the rich employ. I am not saying, and folks, you know this to be true, corporate CEOs are making way too much money right now. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. When corporate CEOs can be picking up $50 million a year and the workers are making 60,000, that's a huge disparity. It's not in line with reality, but we're seeing this greed going everywhere, whether it's politics, corporate CEOs, or sports, or nonprofits for that matter. How can you have the CEO of a nonprofit making $10 million a year? Something about that picture is terribly wrong. That's why Donald Trump rose to fame and rose to the presidency, because he put forth an economic populism. But we need to actually cut taxes on your middle class, because the middle class is bearing the weight of the low income or the people like Katie Wilson who aren't working at all. Folks, remember, subscribe if you're new. Remember, check out my sponsor, MyPillow. Again, that's mypillow.com/lumberjack. Call 1-800-568-2865, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right, folks.